Hello everyone. Today we are going to look at how to make this wetsuit here. So in the last video I did, it was about weight painting, and I showed how to weight paint this wetsuit, or how to use it to transfer weights, and a couple of people asked me about how to create this wetsuit. And it is not obvious. The first time I created this wetsuit, I was not as familiar with Blender, and it was a big headache. It was I had to really figure it out. But you know, with some basic principles though, I can show you how to do this very quick and very easily. So let's start with a new scene. So we'll get a new scene here. I will of course turn on my screencast keys, and always remember pan for me, shift middle mouse is actually minus, so you'll see minus there instead of shift middle mouse. Okay, so we'll get rid of the cube and we'll add in Avastar character. And one of the ways I'm going to do this, and how this is going to work, is it has to do with using OBJ files. Okay, now I don't know how familiar people are with OBJ files, object files, but when you save something as an object file, it only retains certain data. Okay, it will retain the UV mapping, the materials, things like that, but it will not retain shape keys or any of this other stuff that you do. So saving something as an OBJ file can give you, when you save it as an OBJ and you re-import it, you get a nice clean mesh model, okay, with no extra stuff on it, nothing that you have to worry about that might screw anything up. So it's good to save meshes as OBJ files. Okay, so that is what I'm going to do here. So I select the upper body and I'm going to save it as an OBJ. So I go right click, or I file edit, export as an OBJ. And what folder am I going to put it in? My wetsuit folder, and I have a little tutorial folder there. And so I'm going to label this as top and export that. Oops, I screwed up. Okay, so let's export it again. OBJ, same label, but down here you need to select selection only. Okay, export OBJ. Okay, now we need to do that for the legs. Export OBJ, call this legs, and we already have selection only selected, OBJ, and we're not going to do the head. You could though, like I suggested in the weighting video. If you wanted to, you could just copy the whole body, but I'm going to show how to make a wetsuit because there are other things that you can do. I mean, you don't have to make a wetsuit. It'll work for anything that you want that's going to be skin tight, like a tank top or athlete's outfit or anything like that. A bra, you could use it. So that's basically it. You're just going to export as OBJ, and now we're going to import those OBJs. Import OBJ, top, and now import bottoms. Okay, now I can take, now I had a wetsuit which was all one piece, so I'll show how you do that real easily. So I select both the top and the bottom, and I hit join. Okay, now I'm not done yet because we still have too many vertices where the two meshes join. So I need to go into edit mode, make sure that the whole mesh is selected, and then I need to go onto the side in the tools tab and hit remove doubles. And what it will do, it will take all those vertices, double vertices that went around the waist, and it will connect them all together. Now you might want to, you know, double check some of them just in case it didn't merge all of them. So you could easily just grab it and try and move it. And if you look, when you select these, when you select a vertice, you'll see that all of the sides turned orange. Okay, that means that all of them are connected to each other. Okay, so you can know this just by selecting each vertice and seeing that all those lines are orange. Okay, So that's how you connect them. Now, on my wetsuit, I didn't have hands or feet, so I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to use hit 1, 5, and then I'm going to select faces, and I'm going, wait, I need to select, be able to select everything through the model, so I select this little button, and I'm going to highlight the hand here, and then I can select off that, so I make sure I don't hit faces on the wrong side. And I'm just going to select all the sets that form a good line around the hand. I think that looks pretty good. Maybe these two little ones here. And I hit X and delete faces. So just like that, there's one hand gone. I'll hit 1 and do the same thing on this side. Oops. 1. I have to make sure I get the back side of the hand too. So just like this. And I just want to make sure this line is very straight and flat. I don't want to have all these extra parts everywhere, so that looks good to me. X, faces. Now the feet. Let's see here. So let's select 1. And I think I have to go up about there. I think that's wrong. Unselect those. Oops. Again. I have to hit that little... select that again. Oops. So yeah, I think I want it all the way up there. That might be a good spot. It's totally up to you which lines you choose to use. But you want to get a nice straight line though across the mesh. That one looks good. Now the other side. Oops. This. So I'm just shift and right clicking. So just like that, we have the feet all done. And now you might say, well, all these openings are now look all weird, and maybe they're not straight. Well, we can fix that also. So I'll use edge, and I'll hit Alt and hit this edge. That'll select that whole loop there. And now I can go like from above it, and now I can hit Shift X 0. Just like that, I get a nice flat side there, and I might, because I know how the hand is going to go in here, I might slant that slightly. So I get a nice flat edge there, and actually I'm going to undo that because I want to turn on options and topology. I'm going to hit X mirror too, just so I don't forget to do that later. So now we're going to do this again, and it should change the other side also. So SX 0. Now I want to hit SX 0. Now select that. Now I want to rotate it slightly. And the other side should have done the exact same thing, which it did. So like the head, we'll do the same thing on the neck. I'll select one of the edges, then I'll hit Alt, and that should select the whole edge around, the whole loop. Now I'll hit 1, so I get a straight on view. Now I'm going to hit SZ 0, and now I get a nice flat neck. And the same thing for the feet. So I'm going to hit one of the edges, select one of the edges, and then hit Alt, select. That'll give me the whole edge. And I want a straight on view. And I want SZ 0 and select. Now this might, maybe that should slant just a little bit, just like that. And there you go. Nice flat edge. Now, Before we put the mesh, or we bring the body in to look at it, I want to close off all these openings on the mesh so that it actually looks like clothing on the inside, kind of. And I've done a tutorial on this, but I'm going to do this real quick and easy just because it is kind of quick. So I selected that edge, and I'm going to hit Alt Select and select another edge, which gives me the whole loop. Okay, now to make kind of fake the inside of clothing, I'm going to hit 1, and I'm going to extrude. I'm going to hit E and extrude outward a set of verts. Actually, I didn't want to extrude it that far. You just want to extrude it, the first one, just a hair. Okay, and then you want to extrude one more time. So extrude again, and now I want to give myself a little bit of room there. And now I can look at this from the side, and I want to scale in. And now I want to bring this back into the inside of the mesh. And what that will do is that will give me a bit of thickness to the clothing. And what I can also do is I can select this edge again, Alt Select, so I can select that whole edge, and it doesn't look like it selected that whole edge. So, oh, I didn't use Alt. So now I have that whole edge selected. Now it doesn't look very good straight on like this, so I'm going to scale it in just a hair, and that kind of gives it some kind of depth. Okay, and now you won't be able to see through the backside of the clothing. And I might want to take this, Alt Select, and bring it in even further. And if I make it so I can see through the whole mesh, I can see just how far I'm going. Just like that. That looks good to me. So now I need to do that on the other side. So I hit an edge, select an edge, Alt, select the edge, hit 1. Oops. 1. Getting lost here. Okay, now we just want to extrude. I'm going to zoom in a little. Extrude just a hair, just like that. And because I scaled it a little bit on the other one, I'm going to scale it just a hair there. I'll hit 1 again. And extrude again. Scale this in. Now I can pull it back. Just like that, I have what seems like double-sided clothing. Okay, now we'll do the neck. Select an edge, Alt Select. I'll hit 1. I'll zoom in, extrude up just a hair. Just like that. Maybe I'll scale in just a hair. And now 1 again, extrude up, scale in, and then pull down. That looks pretty good to me. Now I have to do it on the feet. So select an edge, Alt Select, hit 1, extrude just a hair, for some reason I'm moving it around too much. Then I'll scale in just a hair, hit 1 again, extrude up, well, I can extrude down, scale in, pull up. So Alt Select, 1, extrude just a hair, scale in just a hair, extrude down again, scale. Oh, look at the other side, it's doing the same thing now. And then bring it up. So just like that. So now we have a pretty good outfit, and now we can bring in the body. So we'll get out of edit mode for now. We'll bring the actual body in. And it doesn't look all that great, but let's change the color of the wetsuit so we know what's different. So I'll make this like a pinkish color or something. And the top too, like a pinkish color. Now remember also that the UV mapping has been saved. The UV mapping for this wetsuit is exactly the same UV mapping as the body. So if you whatever texture you want to put on the wetsuit, you can use the same mapping and everything. You can put a normal avatar texture right on the wetsuit if you want to. So now we can kind of see that the skin of the avatar and this wetsuit are pretty much matching up exactly. That's why you see some like stuttering and stuff in there. And all we really want to do is begin with scaling it just a hair. So we want to hit scale and scale that. Actually, we're not going to do that because that's going to screw things up. So let's scale and hit X, and we just want to move this just a hair. Maybe just like that. And now we want to scale Y just a hair. Scaling Y is not as bad as the other ones, but you don't want to go too far. But you want to give yourself some room. And now everything from here on out is going to be pushing and pulling verts. So this is going to be the tedious part, and I'm not going to do the whole wetsuit, but I'm going to show you basically how you can use the tools to just pull some of these parts out. And one of the things you might want to do is go to the objects, and under this option here that says texture, you want to use wire, and that's going to give you a wire frame of what you're dealing with, and you can see right through it. This might be slightly confusing, but once we go into edit mode and we want to select verts and we want to use proportional editing. So we want to turn proportional editing on. Now proportional editing, if you have never used this can be tricky, but hopefully it won't be too bad for you. So I need to select a vert on this new mesh, and when I pull on this, you'll see it's pulling the whole mesh. It's not just pulling on the vert that I chose. Okay, and that's because of proportional editing. Okay, now I could just bring this forward like this, but it's also bringing the back forward, see? And that's because my proportional editing is too large. Now I don't know why Blender starts out the proportional editing so big, but you have, the first time you use it on any project, any new scene, you're going to have to adjust it. So as I pull this vert, I need to scroll down at the same time. So now you see this window, this circle that's getting larger, bigger and larger. So now I have more control over what parts I'm pulling out and what parts I'm not. So let's leave that. Now I can take this top one, pull this out, and maybe I need to make that a little bit smaller. So now all around the neck, and if you notice again, I have options on topology mirror, so it's going to mirror each side no matter what I do. So you look, the other side is going out slightly too. That looks pretty good. So basically you're going to use proportional editing to make your mesh sit on top of the avatar's mesh. Now maybe what I want to do, because the avatar's mesh is white, I might want to change this. So just so I can see it better, maybe I can go like this, or maybe like that. That might be better. Now let's select my mesh again. That's not it. Yep. Now back into edit mode. I accidentally moved the timeline. There we go. Now that's much easier. Okay, so now I'm just pushing and pulling using proportional editing, and I can see through the mesh. So now I can kind of push and pull in areas, all kinds of areas, and this can be tedious, but if once you get good at it, it can also go very quickly. And you want to give it, you know, a good amount of distance, not too far, you know, about as far as a wetsuit would be, you know, compared to your skin. You know, a wetsuit sitting against your skin. And this actually works out pretty good because I can see the line, I can see the skin is this kind of auburn color. So, and this is very tedious, but you have to kind of go over your whole mesh. And at times you want to adjust your brush too, your brush size, because, you know, like here I could make it larger and influence more of the mesh, but what I do not want to do is pull things that should not be pulled. So I want to keep it small enough so it's not pulling on areas I don't want to move, but yet large enough that I'm pulling the maximum amount of area, so I'm not wasting my time. See, now this one goes down really low, but the back side is kind of high. So you basically have to go over your mesh like this, and if you have topology mirror on, like I said, you only need to do one side, so it does make it quite a bit faster. But, you know, proportional editing only works if your mesh is a perfect mirror. Out. We always have to watch when you're using proportional editing that watch how big your circle is, so that you're not pushing and pulling on stuff that you should not be pushing and pulling on. Like this little indentation, this wouldn't happen on a normal mesh, so we can bring that out here too. And look at how I'm using that proportional editing to kind of adjust how many verts I want to influence. That doesn't look bad. Lower that. Pull this one up. So at the same time too, you're kind of smoothing out things. So that's way indented right there. And you kind of have to look at everything from almost every angle too, to make sure that your mesh is sitting perfectly on top of the body. I mean, I wish there was an easier, faster way, but you know, technically this isn't that bad compared to other ways to do this. And it figures that I would have an ambulance come by while I'm doing a tutorial. So yeah, piece by piece, you just go over, but you know, it really doesn't take that long, especially when you're using a topology mirror. So that looks pretty dang good to me. Might want to go over your mesh a few times. There's one over here, I think, that could come up. And the same with the rest of the body. See, that doesn't look too bad. I might not even have to change that much. Maybe because it is a wetsuit, I'll pull this middle section out just a little. Maybe up here too. And let me see how this looks right here. But proportional editing is really a dream tool. You should learn how to use it if you are not all that familiar with it, because it is a pretty awesome tool. So basically, because, the Y, scaling it on the Y pretty much took care of everything front and back, I'm generally just working on the side of the avatar. Of course, I can up my proportional editing so I cover more area. But this is the basics of how you do that wetsuit. It's not all that difficult, but it is tedious. So you basically have to go over the whole model and, pull and push on verts. And that's the basics of how to create a wetsuit. So have a good one, everyone.